next episode of Titus Balls Knee.
So, I'm back. This is going to be kind of off the whim or whatever, and it's not, I didn't pre-script this, didn't write a script. There are going to be some that I will write a script for, and some that I won't write a script for. But, I want to talk about the franchise, Street Fighter, and everything. I would say the ones that I like, my favorite ones, is basically Third Strike, the Alpha series, and the EX series, which was a totally different company. And to be honest, that storyline really was in continuity with the original Street Fighter series. And I guess it got like, what's the word that people use? Like red band or whatever. I would say like 4 and I didn't like 4 and 5 was okay-ish to me, but necessarily I want to talk about like just how the storyline of Street Fighter just didn't really make any sense, and it still doesn't. Like the closest we got for there actually being a storyline that actually makes sense is Udon Comics, when they basically got it and just made a legit storyline for Street Fighter, and it actually made sense throughout the whole entire time. I don't know what happened. I don't know why they stopped. Maybe some licensing. I don't know. Whatever. I just don't know. But I want to go like with Street Fighter 1 and Street Fighter 2. Like I didn't even know there was Street Fighter 1. I just grew up playing Street Fighter 2, and I didn't know what was 1. I thought like with 2, because 2 you have 2 Turbo, Champion Edition, Rainbow Edition, Ultra Edition, and everything else. So I thought Street Fighter 2 and then 2 Turbo, I thought that was like 1 and then 2. I didn't figure out there was a 1 until I got into college, and basically there was Street Fighter 1 and 2. I was like, oh damn, there's Street Fighter 1? Wow, okay. I didn't know that. And then I'm like, okay, what's the storyline from like Street Fighter 1 to 2? And you have to understand the days, basically when I was a kid or whatever, most fighting games really didn't have the storyline, unless you play like Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting or whatever. They had storylines, but Street Fighter to me really just didn't have a storyline. And I guess 2 did, but it was like, it was just a typical regular storyline, like, oh, this guy's out set to rule the world, and then here's this person to come stop him and everything else. And to be honest, I didn't even know that Ryu was the main character. If you play Street Fighter, you feel like it's more of a guile type of thing, because he's the military guy and he's here to stop this dude to basically be the world leader and all that stuff. But like I said, like I didn't know there was a storyline and everything else. And then you got the whole Alpha series, which takes place in between 1 and 2. To me, and looking at the art, because I had a one friend try to tell me, like, oh no, you're looking at the pixel art and this and that, and you really can't tell that their ages and everything else. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm going off the actual cover art, or like the character art that that the instructions that the game come with and everything. And then with Street Fighter Alpha or whatever, you actually see more, I guess, detail within the sprite animation. To me, Ken and Ryu look like teenagers. Even in the Street Fighter animated series, not the USA version, we're not talking about that. The actual other animated series they had, Ken and Ryu and Chong-Li look like teenagers. Like, they don't look any older than 20. So I'm like, how is Alpha in between 1 and 2 when it looked like it takes place before 1? And just the way my brain works, I'm like, in all these characters that's in Alpha series, what happened to them? And then you got Birdie. Poor Birdie or whatever. He looks like, I think in Alpha he looked black, and then in the original Street Fighter he looks white. But then they bring him back in Street Fighter 5, and he's a somewhat obese black dude. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. And then you go from this dude who, and I don't know, cause like I said, the way my brain works, I thought Alpha took place before 1. I was like, Sagat had a scar, and then it disappeared in 1, and then it came back in like 2, but Alpha takes place in between 1 and 2. But you get rid of all these characters. You have a limited space of characters in 1. I don't know who all the characters in 1. I guess apparently Charlie's dad was in it, and I think Eagle was in it. Some dude named Eagle. But, and what happened to the ninja dude that Vega was based off of? Anyways, you have these limited characters in 1, but then you have these broad characters in the Alpha series, right? And then my brain's working again. And then Akuma was introduced in 2, but then you talking about he came in Alpha? What? But then like you bring it in, what was it, Goki or whatever, Ken Ryu's teacher, and you bring him in 4? But he's not in Alpha. He should have been in Alpha. It's like Capcom don't know. You don't know what you're doing with these characters. You bring in all these characters, and then they disappear in 2. What? And like what happened with them? Like literally, what happened to them? Then it makes you think. What happened with Cody and everybody? Because you play Alpha, Cody's in jail. But then didn't damn, what's the name of that game? Not Streets of Rage. It's a Final Fight. Yeah, didn't Final Fight come out after 2? So it's like you guys are basically throwing these storylines all around everywhere. So Cody was in jail for a good ass time. But anyways, lost my train of thought. Yeah, and then so 3 comes out, and this is my thing with 3. 3 is a good ass game. I like 3. I would play Third Strike till forever. They need to put it on freaking, I think it is on PS4. But anyways, they didn't think that 3 would sell. They were like, oh, it's not going to sell because it's a whole new cast of people and everything else, and so we need to throw some old characters in. I was like, they went ahead and put Ryu in. That was like, oh, it's still not going to sell. Let's go ahead and add Ken. Oh, it's still not going to sell. Let's go ahead and add Chun-Li and freaking Akuma. But it's like, the game would have sold. All you had to do was basically, you got the name Street Fighter on there. New generation. That's it. It basically says itself, a new generation of characters. And then you got Sean, who basically does a Hadouken and Shoryuken and a freaking Tatsumaki, Senpukyaku, or whatever. But it was like, you have to explain what happened with everybody else. You can explain what happened with Ken and Ryu. You can explain what happened with Chun-Li. You can explain what happened with Guile. And you can explain like what happened to Bison, because basically Bison, that we all thought, died in 2, but obviously he did it. But you guys were afraid that the game wouldn't sell because you didn't have these popular characters. But if you learn and if you watch, Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolf sold. That was actually an awesome ass game because they only had one character, one OG character, Terry Bogard. That's all you needed. They say, oh, hey, here's a game. It sells. Street Fighter could do the same thing, and then they could have went on after because they left an open ending like, oh, Oro was going to train Ryu to make Ryu even stronger. And then, like I said, with the whole age thing, in Alpha, like I said, Ken and Ryu, they look like teenagers, but apparently they were like 20, 24, and then when Street Fighter 2 came out, they were 26. So then Street Fighter 3, I think they were like, what, late 30s, in their 40s? They just look older. And then Akuma has like gray hair, so this man could have been like 50 or 60. But he's probably way older than that. Who knows? It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. So they come up with 3, but then they come up with 4, and 4 takes place between 2 and 3. Then 5 takes place between 2, 3, and 4. So then they come out with 6. I'm like, bruh, like 6 just needs to be a reboot of the whole entire franchise. That's it. Nothing else. Just reboot the whole entire franchise and make the storyline make sense. If Alpha is supposed to be between 1 and 2, have all those characters in from 1 to Alpha, or basically from 1 to 2. Because at the same time, when you play 5, they have Fang, and he doesn't make any sense. Talking about he's been there the whole entire time. This man has not been there. He has not been there. This whole scientist dude or whatever. So what? And then you have Seth, who doesn't really make any sense. Like, he's supposed to be a clone body for Bison to go to, but Bison's been trying to travel from body to body to body. No. Like, make the storyline make sense, man. If he's gonna have clone bodies, like, so then, like, now what are you gonna do with these other characters from 5? Like, so 5 takes place between 2 and 3, right? And then, like, the storyline between 3 or whatever is like all these characters disappear, but then you introduce all these new characters. So you have Minot, you have Luke, you have Q, G, I'm sorry. And then who else? We're not gonna talk about the Carpy, like C Viper and everything. So what's gonna happen with these characters? Are you gonna explain what happened to these characters, or are you just gonna they're just gonna fade away and disappear? Like what you did with Rufus. Even though Rufus was supposed to be a playoff of Bob. Even though Bob from Tekken, even though Bob is a way better version because Rufus is trash. And then you got to do Hakan from 4? Like the whole oil wrestler dude, Greek wrestler. Like, you brought him in and then you just trashed the dude. You just trashed him. What happened to him? Never came back. El Forte, he was one of the best characters in 4. Then you just trashed the dude. Like, okay. And then, like, you bring Dudley in 4, but then you X him out in 5. And he's one of the best characters in 3. So why would you do that? And then why do you guys bring Shawnee? You bring his sister in, but you don't bring him in. And then you don't even say that he has a sister in 3. So you make her up in 4. Laura. It's like, make it make sense. Like, some people, they do want a continuation. Like, what happens after 3? But what I feel like is what's going to happen is you're going to make a game in between 5 and 3. You're going to try to squeeze it in. Nah, just reboot the whole franchise, man, because you're not making it make sense. And then you say Rival Schools is finally canon because you put Akira in, right? Even though Rival Schools, awesome ass game, need to make another one, just like Darkstalkers. But we, the people, thought that Rival Schools has been canon since Rival Schools came out, because you got all these characters doing the same moves, like Ken and Ryu, Hideo, Hadouken, Roy, he's doing Shoryukens or whatever. He looks just like Ken. And even, was it Hio? I forgot the main character name. He does a Hadouken. No, Batsu. He does a Hadouken and everything. So we thinking that the game is canon with Street Fighter. We think it's in the same universe. You even got Sakura. She's in there, and she's part of the biggest Street Fighter franchise. She was in Alpha, and this is why I think Alpha is part of It's Before 1, because Sakura looks like she's freaking 12, my guy. So you're saying you give us this whole lead that Rival Schools is in the same universe, but then you exit out and say, oh no, it's not in the same universe. It doesn't exist because for whatever reason. But then you put Akira in 5 and say, oh yeah, it's in the same universe. Like, fuck. Capcom even make things make sense. Like, come on. just reboot the franchise. Like all the other games basically did it. I mean, like Fatal Fury had a whole bunch of soft reboots or whatever to make the storyline make sense and everything, and then they finally put everything in King of Fighters. Mortal Kombat had its biggest reboot, and that was Mortal Kombat 9. And then like Mortal Kombat from 1 had a storyline, and the storyline was just, it made sense or whatever. But then they needed that reboot because after 4, which I didn't like 4 because it was kind of like garbage, but Deadly Alliance and everything else, they needed that reboot because the shit was just going everywhere. Tekken had a soft reboot, and like Tekken 3. I mean, like Tekken 1 and 2 really didn't have a storyline. It was just the King of Fighters tournament, and people were just fighting. I mean, it had a storyline, but it didn't have a storyline. If you get what I'm saying. And Battle Ring Toshinden had a storyline. So why can't Street Fighter have like a legit storyline that makes sense? Even Soul Calibur had a storyline, and then it had its soft reboots, and then it had another reboot. So I'm just saying, Street Fighter, make it make sense. Reboot yourself. Have a legit good storyline to where we follow everybody, because you have a big brand, vast of characters, just vast of characters that are, some are interesting, some are not. But no, we would like to know what happened with certain characters and everything. Just make it make sense, man. Just make it make sense. Yeah. That's my rant for Street Fighter. Hopefully I can have more rants like this. Just regular rants about either games or comics or movies and everything else. I will do a Eternal review because I recently just watched that movie and I feel the same way when I first watched the movie in theaters. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully I will see you guys. Well, hopefully I'll be doing more videos. We'll try to keep it up for the rest of this year. Other than that, peace, love, and all that jazz. Until next episode, I will see you guys later. Peace.